And I always get asked that question, how come you still have Murphy? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, listen, I was married to that man for years, okay? I earned my name. I deserve my name. I have 5 children with that name. I didn't see any harm in keeping my last name. It doesn't matter.
I really thought Nicole Murphy was way past the drama of her split with Eddie Murphy. Wasn't she the one who used to say they'd always be family and that she'd forever carry his last name? Yeah, that was her. But here's the twist. People say Nicole never truly wanted that divorce in the first place. The story goes that she finally filed only because she couldn't deal with Eddie's late-night roaming and his suspiciously close bond with certain folks in the industry, like singer Johnny Gill. Now, I'm not saying men can't just be close friends, but what Eddie and Johnny allegedly had going on, that was on a whole other level. These two were spotted rocking matching bracelets, and Johnny even went so far as to take a lie detector test just to prove he and Eddie weren't in some secret relationship. But here's the kicker. Word is Nicole always believed there was some truth to the rumors because she saw and heard things during her marriage that had her questioning everything. So the real question is, what exactly was happening between Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill? Because before those whispers ever started, Eddie was already catching side eyes for some of his friendships and situations. Sure, Eddie publicly had a long roster of women he dated, and the kids to prove it, but insiders have long claimed that was just a cover story for what he was really into behind the scenes. Let's not forget 1997, the year Eddie's career nearly went up in flames. He got pulled over by cops in West Hollywood at 4 in the morning. Sounds routine, right? Except when police looked inside his car, they didn't just find Eddie.
Relationship, but it was someone you were involved with, and because of the gay rumors, you actually did a polygraph test with her. That's wild, man. Yeah, that's wild to have to actually go through that extent to show that you're straight. Like that. That's crazy to me.
You know, it was crazy because the rumor had been going for so long.
Yeah.
They also found a 20-year-old transgender escort named Adesoni Shalimar Tuyo Stone. Eddie tried to brush it off, saying he was just being a good guy, helping someone in need, but people weren't buying it. Especially since Nicole and the kids were conveniently out of town while Eddie was cruising around in the middle of the night. Scandalous doesn't even begin to cover it. Who could ever forget what Octavia Street Laurent had to say about Eddie Murphy? Octavia was never the type to bite her tongue. She was bold, outspoken, and proudly living her truth as a transgender woman. Allegedly, Octavia and Eddie had a thing for a while, but she wasn't here for the way he tried to keep her in the shadows like she was some kind of secret. And when Octavia finally called Eddie out, she didn't whisper it, she blasted it loud and clear, daring him to step up and call her a liar if he had the guts. And don't forget, all of this went down while Eddie was still married to Nicole Murphy. So when Nicole finally pulled the plug and filed for divorce, word on the street was that one of her biggest reasons was Eddie's too close for comfort ties with some of his male buddies, one of them being none other than R&B crooner Johnny Gill. Now the Eddie and Johnny rumors, they stretch all the way back to the 90s when fans started noticing just how tight those two were.
And so you start to realize and look at certain things, like I said, like a record label. They was talking to record label. I was like, well, we would, but I think, he's gay, so we don't want to. It's like, so we hear it's all this stuff that's going. And I remember her telling me about her friends saying this and saying that, and blah, blah, blah. She never asked me to do it, but I wanted to show her something. I wanted to prove a point to her.
And the gossip only grew louder when Eddie's short-lived marriage to Tracy Edmonds crumbled. Out of nowhere, Johnny decided to chime in, claiming that Tracy's own mother, Lillian, played a big part in the split. That was messy enough on its own, but Tracy wasn't having it. She clapped back, telling Johnny to stay out of her business and called his comments nothing but outrageous lies in a desperate move to polish up his own shaky reputation at her expense. Now, if you thought that was messy, the drama didn't stop there. Eddie and Johnny's so-called friendship just kept raising eyebrows because they weren't acting like just casual buddies. They were practically inseparable, showing up together everywhere, and people in the industry were whispering that Nicole was constantly side-eyeing the whole situation. It wasn't just about the bracelets or the late-night hangouts. It was the way they moved, almost like a couple who didn't care who noticed. And every time rumors started swirling, Eddie tried to shut it all down with a distraction. He would suddenly pop up in public with another woman on his arm, almost like he was trying to prove a point. But insiders claim Nicole wasn't fooled for a second. She allegedly knew the pattern all too well. Whenever talk about Johnny heated up, Eddie would go out and play the ladies' man for the cameras. The public might have bought the act for a while, especially since Eddie always had a high-profile girlfriend or a new baby to show off. But behind closed doors,
And the women that they're married to wouldn't believe a word you said about them. And these are the reason why we have to start speaking out. Because these men who are famous or straight or perceived to be these macho guys are coming out behind their wives, their children, having oral sex, being the women behind their women.
Nicole was dealing with whispers from all directions. Friends, stylists, even people in Eddie's own circle were allegedly hinting that she wasn't imagining things. That constant doubt reportedly broke her down, and it's no wonder she eventually decided she had to walk away. What made it worse was that Johnny himself sometimes added fuel without even realizing it. He would pop up in interviews speaking a little too openly about Eddie, defending him or inserting himself into situations that didn't really concern him, and every time he did, it made people talk even louder. By then, the Eddie and Johnny story had become Hollywood's worst-kept secret, one that Nicole could no longer ignore. After Nicole finally walked away, Eddie didn't waste any time putting on the show of a lifetime with his rebound relationships. Suddenly, he was spotted with model after model, actress after actress, like he was on a mission to prove he was the ultimate ladies' man. But the timing of it all looked suspicious. Every time whispers about Johnny Gill or his past scandals started heating up again, Eddie just happened to roll out another high-profile romance. One of the most talked about rebounds was his whirlwind marriage to Tracy Edmonds. From the outside, it looked like Eddie was finally settling down, but behind the scenes, it was chaos.
I was walking down the stairs because I was just checking out. It was in the Hollywood Hills, so I was walking down the stairs, and they were kissing at the bottom of the banister, like. And I'm like, damn, the nutty professor really is nutty. like he really is, like, and they were going at it, like. For real, like swallowing tongue.
Their marriage was over before it even had a chance to breathe, and people couldn't help noticing how Johnny's name kept creeping into the conversation. Johnny even had the nerve to comment publicly about their split, which only made the whole situation look even more bizarre. And that wasn't the end of Eddie's so-called love parade. He kept himself surrounded by women, starting families, and reminding the world just how many kids he had, almost like he was making a point. But to many in Hollywood, it all felt staged, like he was putting up a front while the rumors about what he was really into refused to die down. Nicole, meanwhile, had the satisfaction of watching it all play out from the sidelines. She had already endured the embarrassment during their marriage, so once she left, it was no longer her problem. But insiders say Eddie's personal life turning into a soap opera only confirmed what Nicole had been trying to tell people for years, that what the world saw was not the full picture. And trust, the whispers about Eddie's secret life were only just getting started. Tracy Edmonds once fired back, saying she would appreciate it if Johnny Gill stopped spreading false gossip and lies, telling him to let everyone move on with their lives. But the way she said it left people wondering, what was the real truth she was hinting at? And why did Johnny feel bold enough to speak on Eddie's marriage in the first place, unless there was more going on behind the scenes than anyone wanted to admit? Then came another revelation that turned heads. One of Johnny's own ex-girlfriends allegedly ended things because she couldn't handle how close he was with Eddie. She said Johnny and Eddie were always together, always tight, and she felt like she was in competition with their bond. She called it strange, something she couldn't even explain, but it was strong enough to push her out of the picture. It didn't help that whispers in Hollywood claimed Johnny was actually living in a guest house on Eddie's property while Eddie and Nicole were still married. Imagine Nicole having to deal with not just her husband's antics, but his best friend practically living in the backyard too. That situation alone had people raising eyebrows and wondering just how deep their connection really went. And here's the kicker. Some folks swear Eddie and Johnny have been locked in this secret relationship for decades. According to insiders, they still link up at those private Hollywood parties where no one bats an eye at who's with who. A former escort even claimed he saw them in the corner of a Diddy party getting way too close for comfort, and he said he was shocked at what he witnessed. When Johnny threatened to sue, the guy stood firm, saying he had no reason to hide if all he was doing was telling the truth. In Hollywood, DL rumors are rarely just rumors. People love to say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And when it comes to Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill, many believe these whispers didn't just come out of nowhere. As one person bluntly put it, they had never seen Johnny Gill with a woman, but they had definitely seen him with Eddie Murphy. And they couldn't forget that Eddie once got caught up in that infamous arrest. To some, that alone was proof enough to believe the rumors have more truth than people want to admit. But what do you think? Is Eddie Murphy still out here partying all the time with Johnny Gill? Or are these stories just Hollywood myth-making at its finest? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you on the next one.